The Star Wars galaxy far, far away is broken up into several regions, from the deep core to the outer rim and the unknown regions. Some of those areas are far more explored and are already familiar to Star Wars fans, or many fans have their favorite planets but might not know where in the galaxy they actually exist. So today I'm going to explain every region of the Star Wars galaxy. The deep core was the region at the very center of the galaxy. Stars were more closely gathered together there, and at its heart was a black hole that was said to bind the entire galaxy together. Traveling in the deep core was considered to be more dangerous than many other areas of space, so many of the worlds there were not highly populated, at least by the time of the Galactic Civil War. The planet Troith was a city planet that once rivaled Coruscant, but it fell into decline over the course of galactic history. The wellspring of life was located in the deep core and was the source of midichlorians, so it makes some sense that the Jedi would establish themselves on a nearby world, Tython. While it wasn't the site of the first Jedi Temple, Tython was home to several notable locations, including the Martyrium of Frozen Tears and a Seeing Stone. The core worlds surrounded the deep core and were still largely considered to be located in the center of the galaxy. This region was home to many of the most wealthy and populated planets, which made it a natural option for the seat of political power. Coruscant was the capital of the Old Republic, the Galactic Republic, and the Galactic Empire for thousands of years. It was considered to be so important that galactic star charts listed its coordinates as 000, despite it not actually being the true center of the galaxy. After the formation of the New Republic, the capital rotated between planets in other regions of the galaxy, but Coruscant and other core worlds like Hosnian Prime continued to house the New Republic Senate. Other notable planets in the core included Corellia and Alderaan. The colonies were situated in between the core and the inner rim of the Star Wars galaxy. As interstellar travel became more widespread, citizens of the core began to explore and find new worlds to settle. Those worlds became the colonies. Hyperspace trade routes like the Hydean Way and the Corellian Run were developed surrounding the new region, and its proximity to the core ensured the new planets there remained wealthy and influential. Some cultures, like the Nemoidians, even developed their own specific colonies like Cato Nemoidia. The Inner Rim was originally known as simply the Rim when it was being settled by beings moving out of the core in the colonies. We don't know when that happened in canon, but Star Wars Legends says the Inner Rim was first explored during the Great Manifest period, about 20,000 years before the events of the films. Onderon, which was a planet of importance during the Clone Wars and the home of freedom fighter Saw Gerrera, was located in the Inner Rim. Jakku, which would become the site of the final battle of the Galactic Civil War, could also be found there, and it was contained within the Western Reaches as well. The expansion region came after the Inner Rim, and this is the name that to me makes it most clear all these labels were made up as the galaxy grew. This is the region of expansion, right in the middle. Isn't every new region made up of colonies at some point and not just the colonies region? Anyway, we don't know much about the expansion region in canon. Star Wars Legends says corporate-controlled worlds began settling there first, not long after the establishment of the Inner Rim. Some notable locations in the expansion region included Umbara, which saw heavy fighting during the Clone Wars, the Ring of Kafrene, which was seen in Rogue One, and Pisana, where Rey searched for clues to find a Sith Wayfinder. Many significant and influential planets called the Mid-Rim their home. Despite their distance from the core worlds, this region was still considered to be part of the inner planets. Naboo, the homeworld of Senator turned Chancellor turned Emperor of the Galaxy, Sheev Palpatine, was located there, and was settled by humans about 4,000 years before the rise of the Empire. They wouldn't join the Republic until the time of the High Republic, a little over 800 years before the Clone Wars. Na Jeddah, the planet around which the Holy Moon of Jeddah orbited, was in the Mid-Rim, as well as Kashyyyk, the homeworld of the Wookiees, and Maz Kanata's castle was known to have existed in the Mid-Rim planet Takodana for at least 1,000 years. The Outer Rim is perhaps the most well-known region of the galaxy to Star Wars fans because that's where the entire saga began, on the Outer Rim planet Tatooine. It was considered to be the frontier of the galaxy, full of lesser-known and lesser-populated worlds. Some planets like Moraband or Mandalore were already known to the Republic thousands of years before the rise of the Empire, but it was still largely unexplored by the time of the High Republic. At that point, notable families like the San Tekkas and the Grafs rushed to find new hyperspace routes in the Outer Rim, and Republic citizens expanded to populate newly discovered worlds where they hoped to create new lives and opportunities for themselves. When already populated planets were found, they were invited into the Republic, but even if the offer was declined, the galactic government continued to provide aid and help to their new neighbors. Despite those good intentions, the Outer Rim never prospered under the Republic, the Empire, or the New Republic. The core worlds received the bulk of the benefits of every government, leaving the Outer Rim to fend for itself. This allowed for criminal syndicates to run rampant, taking control of many Outer Rim worlds. Hutt Space was situated in the outer and the mid-rim, right on the edge of the Republic's boundaries in an area of space known as the Slice. It was controlled by the Hutt cartel, and so contained their seats of power like Nal Hutta, Nar Shaddaa, Tatooine, and more. The Republic and even the Jedi attempted to make peace with the Hutts during the time of the High Republic, and even fought side by side with the gangsters on multiple occasions. But the planets of Hutt Space and the Outer Rim were not part of the Republic, and so the government stepped aside and allowed deplorable practices like slavery continue on for hundreds of years. During the Clone Wars, the Republic struck another deal with the Hutts for the use of their hyperspace lanes. The Empire continued to work with the cartel for mutual benefits for decades. After the death of Jabba the Hutt, their territory fell into chaos as younger Hutts competed for power. The Occlusion Zone was a territory of the galaxy for only a year or two during the High Republic era. A marauding group called the Nile set up a network of devices that destroyed any ship traveling through hyperspace across their borders, effectively cutting off a corner of the Outer Rim from the rest of the Republic. What's more is that the devices could be expanded or contracted at will, and so the Nile pushed their borders several times to absorb more worlds, all of which were helpless to resist. The Occlusion Zone grew to include worlds all the way into the Mid-Rim, including Naboo and Eriadu, the homeworld of Grand Moff Tarkin. The corporate sector was a tiny little corner of the Outer Rim that was completely governed by the Corporate Sector Authority. It was independent of the Galactic Republic and Empire, where corporations were allowed to do whatever they wanted with their own territory. During the time of the New Republic, members of the Corporate Sector Authority assisted with the rise of the First Order. The planet Cantonica, which was home to the casino city Canto Bight, was located there. The Unknown Regions was a largely unexplored area of the galaxy, as the name would imply. Tens of thousands of years before the events of the Star Wars films, several supernovas sent debris and destruction across space which destroyed entire systems and sparked even more supernovas. The devastation made exploration of that area extremely difficult, and so the Unknown Regions were created. Despite the struggles of exploring that area of space, several planets important to the Jedi and the Sith orders could be found there. Ahch-To, the rumored site of the very first Jedi Temple, was in the Unknown Regions, as well as Ilum, a world rich in kyber crystals where Jedi younglings would undertake a ritual known as the Gathering. It would eventually be transformed into the superweapon Starkiller base. The Sith world Exegol was also located in the Unknown Regions and could only be found through the use of a Sith Wayfinder. The Chiss Ascendancy was located within the Unknown Regions of the galaxy. It was made up of several planets spread across what the Chiss people called the Chaos, their own term for the Unknown Regions. They had hyperspace technology but required the use of young women they called Skywalkers, who were able to use the Force to navigate through hyperspace without direct coordinates, avoiding any potential collisions with planetary masses, stars, or other objects. Their capital world was Chilla, and Chiss society was overseen by 9 ruling families. They may have been the greatest power within the Unknown Regions, but were far from the only culture to carve out their own area of space. One of their chief rivals was the Grisk Hegemony, who sought to destroy the Chiss Ascendancy. Wild space was somewhat similar to the Unknown Regions in the sense that it was largely unexplored, but it was also nearly completely unmapped. Basically, while the Unknown Regions were largely unknown, there was more of an effort to learn more about it. The Chiss Ascendancy was known, Ilum and Exegol had been discovered, Palpatine was very interested in exploring that specific region of space, and so there's a kind of basic boundary that contains the Unknown Regions. Wild space was almost entirely a mystery, even though there were also expeditions to begin charting it. Think of it like this. We know there is more to the galaxy, but we don't know what. It's in wild space that we've seen some truly weird and mystical stuff, like the Realm of Mortis, or the nebulas that hid the planet Lyrasan. Honestly, I think wild space would have been a better name for the Unknown Regions and vice versa, but it's too late for that. And that brings us to the end of every region of the Star Wars galaxy. I'll post a link to my playlist of other comprehensive Star Wars videos in the cards if you're interested in learning more about Star Wars. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.